This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for
December 28th, 2024.
And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more.
1500 to 180. Vivek Ramaswamy was able to get the continuing resolution down from 1500 pages to 180 pages. That is a drop of 88%. It is also like comparing the Bible to Animal Farm in terms of size. I would like to point out that he read the bill that virtually no one signing the bill had read. It included $15 million to fund college tuition for Egyptians, $61 billion for Ukraine, funding for multiple biolabs that will not create another pandemic, $850,000 for a gay senior living center, $83 million for DEI programs, $400,000 for transgender clothing. None of these are a good use of money while there are veterans on the streets of America. Speaker Johnson put this bill on the table despite saying that he would not. If this is the corruption that we see, imagine the corruption that we do not see. Now let us talk about a department that President Trump wants to cut. The single most inefficient government monopoly of all time. The post office. Privatizing the post office. President Trump has floated the idea of privatizing the post office. The post office is one of the few government agencies that is authorized under the Constitution. However, this is not mandated like the other powers. The post office loses money every year. With both FedEx and UPS, it is a different story. If either one of them loses money, they may go out of business. The post office was known for being slow and inefficient until these two came around. All of a sudden, the post office had to compete for shipping rates. Just look at private schools which parents try to get their kids into even if the public school is free. Could it be that the privatized school is more trustworthy? As long as there is no crony capitalism involved, you will get your mail faster and cheaper. Now I doubt that the post office will be privatized, and the media continues to lie and say that President Trump wants to dismantle the government, but at least the CBO is willing to admit that President Trump is right. CBO on Trump. The Congressional Budget Office is officially nonpartisan. Whether it is or not is another issue. According to them, President Trump's tariffs would cut deficits. However, it notes that it would increase prices and inflation. However, I would like to point out that the biggest contributor to inflation is government spending, which D.O.G.E is already cutting substantially. I prefer to have something that is made in America and supporting American jobs, rather than something that was made with slave labor in China. Granted, that should be someone's choice. Tariffs tend to raise prices, so I only tend to agree with President Trump on tariffs when they are punitive. The economy is very complicated, and one change makes many alterations across the country. I do not know what the solution is, and I will admit that. However, I trust someone who has given his salary away and has been a victim of smear attacks without resorting to the same, more than I trust career politicians who just do more of the same. As Einstein said, that is the definition of insanity. Speaking of insanity, both the Russia collusion and lies about the mostly peaceful protest of January 6th were repeated ad nauseum, even if neither held any truth. Now more facts are coming out that exonerate President Trump. Miller betrayed Trump. While Nancy Pelosi denied that she was offered additional security by President Trump, we now know that Acting Secretary of Defense Stephen Miller betrayed President Trump, as noted by now retired Mark Milley. President Trump ordered Stephen Miller to provide additional security to the Capitol building. President Trump did not even tell him how to do it, but to just get it done. Miller did nothing, showing his loyalty to the deep state.
So how do you define it?
Well, the way I would define the deep state is an increased willingness by more and more government civil servants to pursue political objectives rather than stand up for the values of the institution they're a part of. They are not neutral. They're not politically neutral.
Not only was President Trump telling the truth, but he is still innocent. While Miller will never face consequences for his betrayal of the American people to the deep state, Fani Willis has faced consequences. Fani Willis defeated. More good news for President Trump has come out. Fani Willis, who spent Georgia tax dollars on time alone with her boyfriend, has been removed from the Trump case. The persecutor,
Don't you mean prosecutor? No!
is gone. President Trump dared to call for an investigation into the ballots in Georgia. We know that this was not allowed, as he was instantly smeared as wanting them to find thousands of votes for him. It seems that Willis may have been the one who really wanted this case, and no one else would take it. No rational lawyer would risk their career over something that they cannot prove. I have no sympathy for her, as she was defeated by the Teflon Don. Now President Trump can enter into office and not have to worry about all of this lawfare, as he continues to work to make America great again. While President Trump is free, so are over 36 murderers thanks to Brandon. Mass sentences commuted. After Brandon pardoned his son, he opened up a huge can of worms. All of a sudden, a lot of Democrats and other deep state operatives are hoping to get pardons, for both the crimes that we know about and for the crimes that only they know about. In this spirit, Brandon commuted the sentences of 37 inmates on federal death row. Of note is that he did not commute the sentences of terrorists, or those who were charged with hate crimes, just murderers and rapists. Based on a rough personal analysis, just under half are minorities. So that implies that Brandon is not doing this for equity. I do not know what the end game is, because I doubt that this was arbitrary. In fact, commuting sentences like this is unheard of.
There's something awfully screwy going on around here.
Now all of these murderers are out on the streets, just like all of the illegals that went on to kill more people because they were not deported. Speaking of such illegals, a woman burned to death. Something tells me that the people of New York do not want to execute justice against crazy people. Since Daniel Penny became a pariah for taking out one such crazy person, and the crazy person became a martyr, let us talk about the woman who was set on fire. Initial reports said that the woman was found on fire, or that she caught on fire. These headlines were brought to you by the same networks that said that President Trump was scared of a loud noise, rather than admitting to an assassination attempt. This scum has been charged with both murder and arson. We have since learned that he was an illegal that was deported under President Trump, but came back in under Brandon. Now I take you to Germany, where a person tried to kill a crowd of people. A dangerous German car. I have said it before, and I will say it again. The Second Amendment saves lives. The reason that I say that is because it does. Granted, the story is from Germany, but I digress. A Saudi national drove a car through a Christmas market in Germany. Now, to my knowledge, there is not one legislator that is calling for car control. We need to have background checks before someone buys a car. No one needs to have more than one car. Putting a grill guard on a car makes it look scarier and more dangerous. These weapons can take out an entire crowd. The fact remains that if you use the same arguments that the gun grabbers have and apply them to vehicles, the gun grabber argument falls apart. The truth of the matter is quite simple. 1. Guns look scary, and so they can be banned. 2. Banning cars would cause public outcry, and so they are untouched. I would also like to point out that CBS initially blamed the car. Now let us go back to America, where a familiar legal battle is brewing. From murderer to martyr, Daniel Penny and the killer of Brian Thompson are not the same. That is plain and simple. Penny took out a mentally unstable criminal who was actively threatening people. Brian Thompson was killed in cold blood. Many liberals are donating to the killer's legal defense fund, making him a martyr. As much as I hate this killer, he at least deserves to stand trial for his crime. If the jury finds him not guilty, a whole can of worms will have been opened. This opens the door to override protections that should be inalienable. This is why Batman and his friends do not kill. It opens Pandora's box, and you cannot turn that back. In the same way, Brandon's mental decline cannot be reversed. Irreversible Damage. I do not like posting segments that cannot be shared on YouTube. It is the #1 publisher and is a great way to reach people. Then again, I get more views on Rumble and BitChute, but I digress. According to Dr. Thomas Levy, a cardiologist and attorney, as few as 7 million and as many as 100 million people may have irreversible heart damage as a result of the China virus vaccine. I am not a biologist and I cannot double-check his work, but it does match up with everything that we have seen thus far. The fact remains that the medical industrial complex cannot be trusted. Even as they cannot be trusted, those who spread such lies in Washington are even less trustworthy. Not that one particular person even had all of his faculties. Pulling back the curtain. The White House is admitting what we already knew. Again, Brandon is mentally unfit for office. They knew this long before his pathetic debate performance. We have video after video of him saying that he just met with people who were dead for years, asleep in the middle of important meetings, and stumbling over very simple sentences. They actually admitted that important meetings were rescheduled because of his mental incompetence. They attempted to gaslight the American people, but the only ones they were able to fool were the Democrats, which is honestly not saying that much. While Brandon's cabinet and staff had to cover for him, the same was not true and will not be true of President Trump. However, his cabinet has another controversy that has flown under the radar. The Catholic cabinet. What do RFK, Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Sean Dovey, J.D. Vance, and Brian Birch have in common? They are all Catholic, and President Trump chose them for his team. There is reason to doubt that all of these people would stand firm, but that is another issue for another day. Some French Protestants see the Catholic Church as the Antichrist or the whore of Babylon for some reason. I honestly do not see the connection. Supposedly Catholics want to usher in a new world order, despite traditional Catholics being largely untrusting of government authority, being mandated to do that which is sinful by the government, and being put on watch lists by the government. Some people will find a problem even where it does not exist. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. But before you go, on the left I have last week's video, but you may also enjoy the video on the right.